You're now experiencing the AJ Nashville podcast. Real people, real problems, real success stories.
What's up, guys? Alex here, ajnashville.com, here with my friend Greg Pease. I'm surprised I could say the name right this time. I think you helped me out last time you were here. So thanks for being here again, Greg. How you doing this week?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to be back on here. Thank you.
Good deal, good deal. So your story resonated last week. I know a lot of people got a chance to listen to your story. I know we promised the people that listen a second half. So now Greg has went from group home or boys home or wherever you were at before into the Marines, served 3 tours in Iraq, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, 3 tours in Iraq. Now you're gung-ho infantryman, and now it's time to get released back into general population society. Whatever. It's not a prison movie, so I guess you don't want to say general population, but back into the world that you were once in before the Marine Corps. But you're a different man now. Tell me about that.
Yeah, and that transition was hard. And honestly, up until that point in time in my life, it was through that place that we'll kind of talk about. But up until that point in time in my life, I was a victim. Mm-hmm. And I don't say that from a point of the fact that I was victimized. I say that from a point of I carried that and I presented it at any point in time when I was not doing my best.
Right. So it's almost like a cop-out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. And I truly did. I didn't know at the time that I was using it as a cop-out, but it just seemed like to anything that I was not able to step up to produce on, mm-hmm. it seemed like it was easy. Not to say it was easy, but in my mind at the time, it was because of what had happened to me prior.
The victim mentality, I think, is something very easy to latch onto. Being in situations myself in the past that I've went through, it's easier to say, you know what, I fucked up because of this, than it is to say I messed up because of something I did. So I totally get that. Now you've gotten out of the Marine Corps. You have learned about this Greg Pease guy that's always been inside you, but that now has been taught to come out and kind of be the fierce leader. But you're being reintroduced into society, so to speak. And I hate to say it like that because it's not like you were never part of society to begin with, but now you go
close.
From...
It kind of was, So from, I've been institutionalized from, early on, 11, 12 years old.
Right.
And at this point in time, I'm roughly, 26 coming back into, really the first even exposure of society.
Right. Well, it's 15 years of structure.
Yeah.
Like you said, institutionalized. The Marine Corps is the same way. You get up, do your PT, go to work, or shower, shave, go to work, do your thing. You got a little bit of free time, you go to bed, you get up, you do the same thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, very similar. Now you're back out in the wild, so to speak. What happens?
So, I successfully fell flat on my face.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know how to provide for myself. I did not. I was in a... I got out of the military in Southern California and found myself in a really small studio, not in a very good area, and obviously no job, and even trying to, I didn't even know where to start on to where do you even look for a job or what do you do?
Right.
I was infantry by trade in the military, so as I got out, literally I didn't even know what was transferable. I didn't know who I was as a person because I've identified as a victim for so long.
Right.
So that took me to a really, eviction notice, and even after I was evicted, even still squatting there
mm-hmm.
to get a night's sleep, and obviously where do we go from there? I actually. It was a very, very trying time, and somewhere along the lines, I don't know what I would give the glory to God. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Nothing specifically happened that said, "Hey, we got to get up." But at some point in time, I realized that how much I had already been through, that this could not be the end.
Right.
So I literally restarted my story walking. I walked into a car dealership and asked them if I could wash cars for them, and they said they didn't need a porter, which I didn't even know what that meant at the time.
Right.
And I told the guy, I said that's cool. I'll clean the toilets for you.
Yeah.
Like, I needed it. I hadn't had income, and I don't know, it had been a period of time.
Right.
So that guy obviously he enjoyed a little bit of my tenacity and did give me an opportunity. And honestly, getting into sales was this is back in 2011, and this was truly changed my life. I mean, from a perspective of this is the first time that I've seen adults that had something good and were driving for something more.
Right. The mindset was very different back then too. I mean, you were in the car days in the day where the mortgage industry just had its collapse. Not too far before that, and now you're in an industry that wasn't frowned upon as much as it had been before. But you still have, like with anything with sales, you still have people that drive each other to do better. It doesn't matter what it is you do, you have the challenge. And I think that's something similar to that you may have seen in the military, where each other you push each other to the next level. You push each other to challenges, to do better. You hold each other accountable. I sold cars for a very short amount of time. I couldn't hack it. There was something about being on the car lot when it's 99 degrees outside. I couldn't do it. Southern California probably wouldn't be as bad, but it's a tough gig. And you guys get a tough rap. Everybody's out to crook somebody in people's eyes, when in reality, there's situations where you just want to help somebody. You have a single parent that comes in with children that needs a reliable car because they got to take their children back and forth to school, and you really, truly just want to help a person. And that's where sales, I think, differs from the perception of most people. Being in the mortgage industry, people look at it as like, here we go, this guy's going to try to rip me off. Let me hold on tight,
Yeah.
And it's different, and you got to experience that. Now, you said that helped change your life. It helped change the trajectory of your future, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing was the culture, the mindset of the people, and early on into car sales, I did see small successes. I mean, the biggest thing, honestly, was the gentleman that took a chance on me, mentored me a little bit, and I was able to listen to him, and I had some small successes. I mean, nothing major, but I immediately was so excited to actually. Like you said, being out in the wild, I was so excited to actually hunt and conquer something myself. This is the first time in my life that I was achieving any level of success on my own. And from there, honestly, just, and I'm so glad I did. I started reinvesting back into seminars, books, listening to anyone that was one chapter ahead of me.
Yep. And let me stop you real quick. You and I talked before the podcast, and we kind of laid this story or mapped this story out. This way I had an understanding of what we were walking into. And there was something profound that you told me that I think changes the mindset. We have, in a lot of cases, what I consider a broke mindset. And that's, I'm going to do enough to get by and I'm good to go. And that's it. And when I say enough to get by, I'm not necessarily talking about monetary. I'm just talking about life. Enough emotion, enough feeling, enough being there just to get by. But you told me a story of where you basically didn't have any money. You had enough money to cover this one big seminar that the dealership was supposed to pay for in the eyes of the people selling you this seminar, but ultimately you had to pay for, and it pretty much took your last dime. Tell me about that.
Yeah, no, it took everything. So, again, shortly into sales, I was listening and taking action, and I did shortly into sales. I mean, months into sales, acquire a couple of thousands of dollars, and I literally mean just a couple. But keep in mind, we're also not paying for things like rent and not even eating the way we should. But we did it, and so I started reading these books and getting excited in seminars, seeing stuff. So linked up with actually the company was Joe Verdi. They're still around, and that costed a couple $1,000s. It was a 3-day seminar. It was in Orange County, California, and when I called, I was like, "There's no way I can do that. I mean, that would be everything that I own, and I was just broke, only months ago."
Right.
And so he said, "No, the dealership will pay for it." And but no, the dealership was not interested.
Didn't sell that one.
Yeah, they took a chance on me, but they weren't about to go invest a couple thousand in me. So
yeah.
Honestly, I took a leap of faith and I invested that in myself and never again. Well, since that day, literally, I mean, it's 8 years later and no amount of money is greater than mentorship, knowledge, training. No amount of money. It's not worth nothing. You're going to burn through it anyway, and you're going to have to reproduce it anyway.
Right.
And if you don't possess that knowledge, that motivation, that mentorship, you're not going to be able to repossess it. So it's going to disappear anyway. Where are you putting it at?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, and I can agree with you 100% there, I had, earlier on in my career, I didn't follow anyone. I didn't see the need to pay for someone else's knowledge. And so I just kept trucking and kept going. But the second I started to reinvest in myself and listen to other people, I seen my success grow. And when I say success, I know a lot of people listening are thinking, he did well at his job, he made a bunch of money, he did this. I'm speaking of success all the way around. Like I told you when we started this podcast, or right before we started it, the things I have to focus on now is discipline and balance. So I've invested in those other areas. I now know I need to invest in the discipline and balance side of my life, and that's where mentorship really comes in handy. You can find those things that help push you to the next level, and they do cost money. Unfortunately, time costs money, but you can also do some of this research. I mean, there's books you can buy. You can get out there and pick up a book and learn a ton of stuff from people that have been through it, wrote it down on paper, and published it. It's amazing. And I think this is something you still carry to this day, right? You have mentors that you follow?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's several mentors that I follow to, whether they be highly successful and following them on forms of social media that they don't even know that I'm following them,
right?
Or people that I'm personally meeting up with. I mean, and honestly, even yourself, I've learned so much from you in our interactions. And then books, like you said.
Yeah.
I remember in 2015. So 2012, we start reading a book or two, probably one.
Right.
But it was still like, oh my gosh, like this door open, like all this knowledge.
Yeah.
2013, 2014, we probably read 2 more books or something, 3 more, who knows.
Right.
2015, I set a goal for 12 books, which was going to be 1 a month. And honestly, a couple months in the year, we were not tracking. By the end of 2015, I read 25 books.
Jesus.
And I haven't really stopped from there. I mean, it's insane. A guy actually asked me the other day, he said, because I do a lot of audiobooks. And then my goal is when I listen to an audiobook, and then my goal is to buy the hardback, and then I use the hardback, or whether it be soft or hard, but the hard copy as a reference.
Yes.
So I can go back to page 356 and remember that this was said.
Right.
But the audio allows me to have it in my ears at all times. And I had a
Yes.
guy in the gym just the other day ask me, he said, well, are you taking in everything from that book? He said, I have a hard time. If I listen to a book, I can't take everything in.
Right.
And this is something that I said to him. It seemed to resonate, and for whatever it's worth to anyone else, no way am I taking in everything from that book. Not even close.
Right.
But if you buy one book and try to take everything from it, you're missing the one little thing in the 18 other books that I've read while you tried to be the master of this one book.
Yes. And that's absolutely true. I'm the same way. So I listen to audiobooks as well. And some books I'll listen to several times because you'll go back and you'll hear something like, oh my God, I missed this the first time. Prime example, my kids watch these movies and they'll watch them 50 times. And it's like every time I watch the movie with them, I see a part I never seen before. And I feel like it's the same thing with books. You have to take the general message and then start picking and choosing the rest of the message that you hear. It's just a matter of building as much knowledge and wealth of knowledge as you can while you continue to push forward. I'm a big advocate of audiobooks. If you come into my office, well, you came in today, I was listening to rap music. It's kind of like a 90s audiobook. But, that's a different mindset. That's challenging or channeling my mind to get things completed. Now, I want to reverse real quick because we got a little ahead of ourselves, and that was partially my fault. You're homeless, have no job, or you have a job, have no place to live. Okay, how do we escape that? What do we do? Because what I want the people that are listening to this to hear is there is a way up. Regardless of how low you are, there is a way to get back up, brush yourself off, and sometimes it's a long road. Tell me about that road.
Yeah, so and then coming out of that, I mean, financially, we use the car dealership to come out of it when we speak on how do we do that financially. But the biggest piece, and I think what's most important, you may be asking around, is mentally, how do we get through that?
Yes.
And knowing that, man, I wish I had some secret to share with people, but the if you want to get to the top of the mountain, and I'm sorry to sound so cliche or you just have to keep taking that next step.
Right.
I believed at that time, and then honestly, and not even for, I wish I could give you like, here's what I did for my belief. I didn't have no reason to believe.
Mm-hmm.
I just put my head down and I said, dude, this is not going to be the end.
Right.
One more step.
Right.
One more step.
Yep.
One more step. One more step. And then a month went by, 6 months went by, a year went by. And honestly, the last 8 years of my life have blown by, and I've evolved to a new person every single year and to a new height every single year.
Mm-hmm. Now, in my opinion, this is what I go through. I analyze the year prior, and I look and I say, all right, this is what I could have done better. This is what I learned. This is what I can improve on, and this is how I can build on that. You talk about climbing the mountain. I'm going to use your analogy, for example. There's not a mountain climber in the world that hasn't climbed up a certain level and slid back down. It happens. Even the most experienced mountain climber will climb 100 feet and slide 10, or slide 90 feet. Forward progression is the biggest thing. And when that mountain climber gets back to that point where they slid, they know, hey, I slid here last time. I need to dig here instead. And I think if we reanalyze where we've been and see what we've done and review our goals are something that was never a big deal to me until it became a big deal to me. And I know that sounds really strange to place it like that, but, in sales, people are always like, write your goals down. Okay, that's easy. Here's my goals. Here's what I want. Here's the things. But I never channeled it into what it is I need to do to get there.
Correct.
And that's part of the mission. You talked about your goal was to read 12 books. You weren't tracking. By the end of the year, you read 24, 25?
25.
So 25 books. So you exceeded that goal. Now, when you look back, you realize 25 books is obtainable. So what do you do now? Set it at 30, 40, 50, 90, whatever the case may be. So I think seeing what we've done, where we've been, and where we're headed is very important. Self-analyzation.
And I'll add one more thing to that. I've actually shared this pitch with a lot of people. I'm not sure I picked it up at, but I believe that there's I say it's 85, 10, 3, and 2 percent, and that'll give you 100. So 85% of people. So in these four groups, you got the drifters, the dreamers, the doers, and the greats. Mm-hmm. And then the way it was broke down, and I've carried it over the last 8 years, and there's no question that when you put these things into place, your life will change in a positive direction. 85% of people are drifting, so 8.5 out of 10 people are drifting. They have no clue where they're going.
Right.
They wake up, they land somewhere, and they go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then so then we get into 10 percentile. These people set goals. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you set goals, you have already elevated your life majorly. So then these people are, I call them the dreamers. That I coined that.
Yeah.
And we know these people because they're going to be famous musicians and the best and the presidents and okay. So but that's good because they had to have these goals. Without these goals, they were drifting.
Yes.
But then how did we, like you said, how do we actually, like when we backstep, how do we stay focused and go to the next place?
Right.
And that's where we get to the doers. And the next place was 3% have a goal, and then they plan how they will actually achieve that goal. So I'm going to make $1 million. The first step is, how do I make $1?
Yes, absolutely.
So and then the last piece when we get to the greats, because these people, we say, well, if we have a goal and we have a plan and we take action, we'll definitely achieve it.
Right.
We will, but then when you talk about when those slips come up, the last piece that I found valid, and I still have not conquered at a successful level yet, period. Mm-hmm. I have conquered the other ones, is reciting your plans and your goals. And,
yes.
and any great book that I've read says twice a day, and that's right before you go to sleep and when you get up in the morning.
Right.
You start inducting your life with what it is, and when you make mistakes, so what? You go back to the drawing board of the plans.
Yes.
And then re-rehearse it again, and then retake action again.
I hear people say that a lot. They stand in the mirror and say, Satima, he used to be a football player for the Patriots. He's a Super Bowl champion and everything else. And he's kind of made his way through life, and now he helps people make their way through life. He went all the way from the bottom to where he's at now. And he said one thing that he does is he looked in the mirror and said, I am a motivational speaker. I am the best speaker. And did that year after year until, guess what? Now he's a motivational speaker. He's a paid speaker. He's one of the best speakers. And I think that we have this self-fulfilling prophecy as individuals, where if we believe it enough, we can achieve it as long as we put in the work to get there. And I think that if we tell ourselves, hey, you're going to do this, we start getting that target fixation and making our way to get to that. Now, for some of us, it may take weeks. It could take months. It may even take years. But that's okay because there's no timeline in accomplishing what it is that your ultimate dream is, in my opinion. If you want to become Tony Robbins, for example, nobody's saying you have to do it by 25. If you don't, you're never going to make it. I mean, that may be true for pro football or something like that, but if you have a goal and if you have a dream and you truly believe it and you take the correct steps to get there, that's the biggest thing, is the correct steps to get there. I can't sit here and say I want to be a millionaire over and over and over and over to myself, but I don't want to go to work the next day. That's not going to accomplish anything. But putting in the steps, putting in the work to achieve and get to the next level, I think is one of the most important things that we can do. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, your turn. Go ahead.
No, I totally agree. And then something that, and a mindset that I adopt that I share with other people when you look at like, maybe you didn't make it by 25, whatever. So the clock will literally keep ticking. Mm-hmm. And you will do something with that time.
Yes.
And if the clock is no longer ticking, it's irrelevant for you anyway.
Right. Exactly.
So while the clock ticks, like regardless if it takes you 10 years, 20 years, 30, the clock's going to tick, and 20 years is going to show up, and you're going to be something.
Right.
30 years is going to show up, and you're going to be something.
Yep.
You don't stop stop the clock. So you're going to do something either way. So regardless if you didn't make it in the time, the clock doesn't stop for you to pause.
You might as well do something constructive with the time.
Yep.
You know, and sometimes you have to double down. Sometimes you have to do twice the work to get to where you want to be. But like you said, that time's going to come, and it's how you spent that time.
Another big thing that, again, a mindset that I've, again, all these books over these years, and audiobooks, and just keep myself inducted with it. A mindset that I adopted was around, like you mentioned, that what the mind can believe and can conceive, we can achieve, and we've heard that before. But I share with people, and again, just a mindset that I adopted from the books I read, the people that I've met, is that I would challenge anyone to think about that nothing that was ever created by man ever, period. And then so if you find something, hit me up, Greg at musiccityexperts.com.
Right.
So nothing ever that was created by man ever came about without first being a thought.
Right.
Ever. So if we agree with that, if we say that anything that ever will be created ever will have to be a thought first, nothing ever came into creation that was not a thought first.
Right.
So if I only put X thoughts, I can never have Y creation.
Right.
So positive, negative.
Yes, absolutely. And I think looking at things, we talked about Jocko Willink earlier. I think looking at things and analyzing it and finding Jocko Says Good. Are you familiar with that podcast that he's on? So what he says is, he talks about how, you didn't get the job, you wanted the high-speed gear, the things you needed. He says good. And what he's saying by that is good that you didn't get it, because now you can learn how to adapt with what it is you have. And so as we feel ourselves and we look at a negative situation, we have to find the positive in it. If I sit in traffic, what does that allow me to do? Well, if I sit in traffic, it allows me a few more minutes to have thoughts to myself and listen to whatever book I'm listening to, so I can gain some more knowledge. I'm not in a rush to get somewhere. If I have a situation in my life that's challenging or testing to me, let's say it's a sickness or something like that, there's still something to be learned from it that will allow us to adapt and grow. And the second we start removing the negative thoughts that go along with it and start filling them with positive lessons, I think is when the mindset starts to change. And we start seeing ourselves in a position where positive mindsets get results. The people that dwell on the negative are the ones that'll never make it.
And when we dwell on that negative or the positive, it doesn't matter. Earl Nightingale wrote a book, The Strangest Secret, which was really good, and he said that the mind has He said that the mind is like the land. If a farmer planted corn in nightshade and watered them, the land will produce both.
Right.
One will kill his family, one will feed it.
Right.
And the same with the mind. The mind has no discretion. So whether we're focused on positive or negative, the mind, without us doing anything further, is growing it for us. Mm-hmm. So when we start focusing on that negative, we balloon it into this big thing of stuff that hasn't even came to realization.
Right. Well, an old mentor of mine used to say, and I'm going to mess up this quote because I'm good at doing this, your mind is like a camera, which you focus on develops. Wow. And that's very, very true, because when you get up in the morning and you decide you're going to do something, whatever it is that you focus your efforts on is what eventually develops, whether it be positive, negative, whatever it may be, because that is what your focus is based on. And we know this much. And especially going through the things you've been through, the things I've been through, the things that thousands of people in this world have been through, if you focus on success or growth or getting past it or getting over it or getting through it or whatever it may be, your mind, your body, everything will adapt, you'll overcome, and you'll succeed.
Absolutely. And honestly, just like anything else that we've all done in our life, whatever it was, wherever you currently stand, the beginning you know it's going to be rough. There's no,
Right.
like, I can validate that for you. Like, there's no secret pill. Like, it's going to be rough. But eventually you get into this rhythm where you're like, man, I can do more. I can do more. I can
Yeah.
do more. Like, you even talked about that earlier. You know, you make, you do this, the books. You know,
Yeah.
we set so 25. Then I'm like, oh, dude, how weak was that? I need to do 30 books.
Right.
So, yeah.
And it comes easy too. That's the thing. You set your goal at 12. And at some point you said, shit, I got to get in gear. I need to be accountable. 12 turned into 25. That's amazing because there was an old basketball game. I was out for like Nintendo or something. And as you made a couple baskets, the announcer would say, he's heating up. And once he heated up, every shot he took after that was on fire.
Yeah,
and
I
it
remember
burned
that.
the net. I think it was called like, I can't even remember. But anyways, once you start to achieve and get in that mode of doing well, there's not a whole lot that can stop an individual.
100%.
It's like being at the gym, that one more rep mentality. You go and you hit it one more time, and suddenly 1 rep turns to 2, and 2 turns to 3. Next thing you know, you're doing 10 reps like it's nothing.
Absolutely.
I think if we work our minds out to be the same, there's nothing that can stop us. The limitation, I think, is mental in most cases, within reason. I mean, I'm not saying, hey, you can ghost through that wall as long as your mind believes it, but you can find a way around it.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. And to anyone that would challenge the mindset of like, hey, you can do anything you set your mind to, and to anyone that would even go to the place of challenging, well, you can't walk to the wall. Look, where's your mindset at right now?
Exactly.
Where's your mindset at right now? You know what I'm saying?
But see, I had to disclose that because somebody listening is like, well, yeah, you can't hold your breath underwater for an hour. You're right, you can't. But you can stop breathing, and then you can be underwater as long as you need to.
Right, but that's what it's about, man. That's what it's about. Always look at all times. I mean, at the greatest level. I mean, when we look at the most powerful thing that we possibly know, and to each their own. But I'm going to talk about spirituality and God. We're not going to get too deep, but at that level,
Right.
There's the equal negative of the devil. And the point that I'm getting at is at all times there is something positive and negative, and you will look at one or the other.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's about what you focus on. So let me ask you this. Okay, so we have Greg Pease, Music City Experts, Realtor Extraordinaire, TV show next. What's next for Greg Pease? Come on.
So no, and then down the road, I really want to do. I want to do motivational speaking.
Yeah.
I want to do motivational speaking, and the reason why is because when we look at when people ask what was my why, one of the things that actually, and I guess I said, I just kept taking one more step. One of my things was that, dude, if I can make it through this,
Yeah.
then I can be a beacon for other people.
Right.
We even talked about, people do things or lack thereof with reason to believe. There's been studies done with animals, and so we've taken out the emotion and went to just instinct alone,
Right.
and seen that people will take action when they have reason to believe.
Yes.
And honestly, big picture, I want to be people's reason to believe that don't have one.
Yeah, and I think the world needs that. And I think there's not a better person out there for something like that, given your story. I've had the opportunity that a lot of the listeners won't, of hearing intimate points of your story that really designed who you are as a man now. And with my story, with the listeners that are listening today, you can go back and listen to my story. Once again, there's intimate points of that story that I shared that have helped create me who I am now. And people ask me, well, don't you wish you didn't go through that? I'm like, no. Who else is going to go through it? Who else is going to have the strength to not only go through it, but go past it, live, tell about it, share it, and continue to grow?
Absolutely. And when you said go through it, again, when we look at, and so my transition from being a victim to becoming Greg.
Right.
And that transition was unpacking what happened, and then honestly realizing that, and truthfully, without going too far in detail, my stepmom actually was mentally ill.
Yeah.
So then I realized, she is the victim.
Right.
She needed help. Furthermore, through all that, I wouldn't want anyone to go through what I went through, but I literally have gifts now,
Right.
to share with other people. And through unpacking that, I realized, dude, I'm Greg and I got gifts.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks to have to receive these gifts in that level, but dude, I have gifts that other people can't even fathom.
It sucks to receive it in that level, but look at how you've achieved since then. That's a big thing. Who else could take it and run with it the way you have? That's the thing. I would much rather have the things that happen to me because I know I can move past it. whereas somebody weak-minded may not be able to. There could have been a person that ended up as a victim and not a survivor. And I hate using the word survivor because I think that people are warriors. Survivor means that you made it through and you did okay, and here you are. A warrior makes it through and makes something of it. And they continue, and they have the battle scars, but they show, hey, this is what we do, and now we teach other people on how to make it through it as well. So, Greg, I think you have an amazing story. I think that where you're headed in life with your goals and what it is you're trying to achieve and what it is you've been through, I know without a doubt somebody's listening to this podcast and your story has resonated with them at some degree. The one thing I want to know is if I was to reach out to you, I have to shameless plug here, how do I reach you? If I want to talk to you, buy a house from you, sell a house with you, listen to more of your story, have someone to communicate with, have somebody to help coach me, how do I reach out to Greg?
Yeah, so, and honestly, you can, my cell phone, I'll be happy to give it out, area code 931-993-7672. Feel free to do call, text message, look me up on Facebook. It's Greg Pease, and my last name is Ship, spelled backwards.
Love it.
That's a weird one.
That's the way I remembered it, though.
Dude, that's the only
Ship
way.
spelled backwards.
Yeah, if you try to pronounce it, you'll come up with a curse word when you see it.
Yeah.
Just spell ship backwards, and that'll get you there. So Greg Pease, you can definitely link up with me on Facebook, and then again, that email is just greg@musiccityexperts.com, and anything that I have to share, I will, and anything that I am not able to share to help you get to the next place, I have someone in my network to reach out to connect you to.
So one quick question for the people that are listening: one book changed your life. If you had to choose one to read again, or one that you could say this influenced me to be the way I am, what book would it be?
So I think, can I give you two?
You can.
Okay. So there's two
Is
books.
Is it part one and part two?
No.
Enough.
So Grant Cardone's 10X rule.
Yeah.
Okay, because no matter what, we just got to keep. No matter what, like even if the situation's horrible, we just got to keep moving.
Right.
And that book taught me that.
Yep.
And then honestly, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Love that book.
So
Love
and
book.
that book's so the
It's an oldie
entitles.
but goodie.
Man, that I tell people, and then that's the only book that I share. Like 10X Rule, I think is a very good book, but that book I tell people, out of all the books I read, and there's been a lot, I tell people that is the number one manual that I would recommend for any human on how to deal with other humans.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. Great book.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the one.
Yeah. So, Greg, thanks so much for being here. Obviously, welcome you back anytime you want to come back, chit chat, anything like that. If you're listening, if you've been through a similar story like this, if you want to share kind of your thoughts, your feelings, whatever it may be, reach out to Greg. If you want to share them with me, reach out to me. If you got a story that you want to tell that you feel will help somebody out there, do me a favor, reach out to me. I'd love to have you on the show. So, Greg, thanks again for being here. Wish the best of luck to you. Look forward to seeing you more often.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.